Hey there. So, have you ever had that feeling like the future is just showing up way, way faster than you thought it would? Well, you are definitely not alone. And if we want to get a real handle on this AI boom we're all living through, we kind of have to look back at how we got here. So, let's do that.
Okay, so here's the fundamental problem, right? Our brains, they just aren't built for this. We think in straight lines, A to B to C, nice and predictable. But AI, it doesn't work that way. It grows on this crazy exponential curve. And to really feel what that curve means, we have to rewind. I mean, it's just a dizzying speed, isn't it? It completely changes how we think about progress. You know, for decades, sci-fi gave us these cool visions of the future, but they always felt comfortably distant, like, oh, that'll happen someday. But man, in just the last few years, that whole script has been flipped on its head.
And this really shows you that squeeze. I mean, think about it. We went from punch cards and switchboard operators to AI that can literally generate video from a sentence you type and AI avatars that can conduct interviews. It's wild. Reality isn't just catching up to our old predictions, it's lapping them.
So here's the bottom line. The timeline has been totally dramatically compressed. Progress that used to take years, solid years of work, is now happening in a matter of months. It's just a breathtaking pace.
And that, of course, brings us to the big question, right? What was the tipping point? When did this slow, steady march of progress suddenly slam its foot on the gas and leave us all scrambling to keep up? To find that answer, we got to go back in time. We're going to start in what's called the rule-based era. This was a time when AI was, well, all about rules. And this led to this constant cycle of massive hype, followed by some pretty deep disappointment. So the groundwork really gets laid back in the 50s and 60s. Alan Turing kicks things off with his famous question. The field gets its official name, artificial intelligence, in 56, and then in 56 we meet the world's very first chatbot, Eliza. But then the hype bubble burst, we hit the first AI winter, funding just dries up. Things thaw out a bit in the 80s, but then, yeah, you guessed it, a second winter hits.
Yeah, so this early AI, you shouldn't think of it as a brain. It's more like a super literal-minded robot. It could only follow a giant list of if this, then that commands. You know that chatbot Eliza? It had this really clever, simple trick. If you typed, "I'm feeling okay," it would just flip around and ask, "Why are you feeling okay?" It was just a simple hack, but it kind of looked like a real conversation.
Okay, so after that first winter, things start to thaw out, and this kicks off the machine learning era. And listen, this was a huge shift in thinking. Instead of spoon-feeding the AI a ton of rules, the goal was now totally different. Design an AI that could find patterns all on its own.
And the absolute game changer here was this algorithm called backpropagation. Now, the best way to think about it is like this. Imagine you're a student taking a practice test. You finish, you get your score, you see what you got wrong, and then you go back and study only the questions you messed up. That's what backpropagation let the AI do. It was a brand new, really powerful way for an AI to actually learn. But here's the thing. Even with these amazing breakthroughs, like IBM's Deep Blue beating the world chess champion, the field still fell into a second winter. That whole cycle of hype and disappointment, it was still in full swing. So clearly, something fundamental had to change.
So what was it? What finally broke that cycle for good? What was the spark that lit the fuse of the explosion we're seeing today?
It turned out to be this perfect one-two punch. First, the software. In 2006, we get these things called deep belief networks. This let AI teach itself using all the messy, unlabeled junk from the actual internet. Then, just a year later, the hardware. NVIDIA's CUDA software basically unlocked the insane horsepower of gaming GPUs for AI. So boom, suddenly you have an AI that can teach itself and the superpowered engine to run it on. That was the tipping point.
And that combination, that one-two punch, it launched us straight into the era we're in right now, the deep learning explosion. This is the moment where that exponential curve just goes vertical.
So what does deep actually mean here? Well, think of it like this. A standard network might have one hidden layer of thinking, but a deep network, it has many hidden layers. So the information gets passed through all these different stages of analysis, which lets it do way more complex and sophisticated stuff.
And once you have these deep networks running on those super fast gaming GPUs, well, the floodgates just burst wide open. 2017, we get the transformer architecture. That's the TNGPT. 2020, GPT-3 starts writing text that just stuns researchers. Late 2022, ChatGPT is released to the entire world. And then early 2024, Sora is generating video that looks real.
The pace, it's just absolutely stunning.
Which brings us right back to where we started, to today. We are all living on the super steep part of that curve, and yeah, it can feel really disorienting. A big reason for that is because our very definition of what AI even is, it's constantly shifting right under our feet. There's actually a name for this phenomenon. It's called moving the goalposts. And just think about it for a second. It wasn't that long ago that Siri and Alexa seemed like mind-blown AI, right? But today, we barely even think of them as AI. They're just a feature on our phone. Our idea of what true AI is, it's always whatever amazing thing is just over the horizon. You know, the guy who literally came up with the name artificial intelligence, John McCarthy, he said it perfectly. He said, as soon as it works, no one calls it AI anymore. And that's so true. We've gotten to a point that would have seemed like pure magic just 10 years ago, and we've gotten so used to it so fast that we barely even notice.
So, you gotta wonder, right? With all of this insane, explosive growth, are we just setting ourselves up for another big AI winter? Is another bust coming?
Well, it's looking pretty unlikely this time around. And there are 3 big reasons why. First, adoption. This stuff is everywhere. Every major company and millions of people are using it. Second, money. The investment is just massive, and it's not slowing down. And third, and this might be the biggest one, AI is now being used to make better AI. It's creating a feedback loop. For example, AI is helping to design more efficient computer chips, which will then be used to run even more powerful AI. And look, if you need just one single fact to really wrap your head around the scale of what's happening, here it is. Right now, as we're talking, ChatGPT is one of the top 10 most visited websites on the entire internet. It's up there with Google, with YouTube. This isn't some niche research project anymore. It's become a global utility. So that leaves us with one last kind of profound question. We're not really asking if this is going to continue anymore. The real question is this. When progress that used to take years is now happening in months, how do you adapt? How do we adapt? When the future is arriving faster than anyone can predict, what does being ready even look like?